Hi everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on our new mechanical ventilation feature. I will just give it a minute for people to join, and yeah, we'll get started in a minute or so. And I suppose just a little bit of background while we wait for people to join. We've had this feature released probably 4, 5, 6 weeks now, it's being used really well by some of our users, and well, yeah, excited to show it to you today. And while it will be very focused on the new feature, we do also have other mechanical engineering systems too, so you can design heating and chilled, do all your heat load calcs. We have a range of plumbing calculations too, so hot and cold water, gas, wastewater and stormwater, and a range of fire systems too. So you can design sprinklers and hydrants, hose reels in ring main formations and things like that. And there is a lot of exports too, but we will cover those today. And please ask any questions as we go. I will try to see them, but I think sometimes when I'm sharing my screen, I won't see them, so I might not be able to respond, but I know a couple team members are online able to answer too, so yeah, just feel free to ask any questions as we go. And I will get started. So for those that just joined, thanks for joining. So today, yeah, going through the new mechanical ventilation feature, and yesterday's webinar probably went for about 25-30 minutes and went through some of the settings that are important specific to ventilation, and then did some of the automated flow rate calculations, did a system layout, which then gets sized based on our flow rate calculations, and then we reviewed some results and looked at some of the exports too, such as the PDF, the calculation reports, and the list of all the materials. All right, and just before I get started, just always like to say, I will go quite fast just to show you, I suppose, the potential. But we do have a lot of resources for those that are already users of h2x or do want to get started. So always recommend our YouTube channel, where you'll see pretty much everything I'll go through today here in our playlists. But as you might have noticed, I'd already uploaded a PDF because I want to get straight to the good stuff, but pretty simple. But when you need to learn about it, you can come and find that here. And we do have a bit more of a structured do a project together under h2x University on our website. So you can come here under ventilation, and we have other ones too. And here you can just follow a full design with it takes about an hour to go through the videos, and you'll get a certificate at the end. So they're always just good ways to, this is a bit of an introduction, but anything you don't remember, they are great resources. All right, so first thing you should always do is go into the settings. And just to reiterate, there is like a lot of settings here that I'm not going to focus on, just while we keep it mechanical ventilation related. But as you can see, there's things like this, but we're going to jump straight to the calculations here. Now under HVAC, there's two important ones for you. The air changes, which we have a range, so you can go with the SIBSI, defaults, ASHRAE, or if you're in the UK, we've got the MCS ones and the UK building regs too. They do all give slightly different results, so it is important to get that correct, but you can come back and change it anytime. I think I'll do the dwellings one today, but I mean, regardless of what I do, if you're using another one, it would work exactly the same. And the other one that's important is the duct sizing method. So here you've got the option, do you want to size your ducts just on a maximum velocity? Do you want to size it just on a maximum pressure drop? Or do you want to do both? And yeah, both is normal. So we'll leave it on that one today. And the other settings page that's important is under flow systems here. If you come and find ventilation, you can see there's different ones to go into. I'll just look at supply right now. But this is where like the calculations are really high level, like how do you want the flow rates to be calculated really based on your location. And then this is more, okay, now we've got the flow rate, how do you want the ducts to be sized? There's also a couple of other things you can change, like the name and the colors. But most importantly, it's this section here. So as well as having different flow systems, under each system, it is also broken down into the risers, mains, branches, and connections. Reason being that you might want to have different velocities and different materials for your main ducts, and then you might want to draw your branches using a different like button on the toolbar, which we'll see. And when you're drawing that, you might want it to be a different material, different velocity and things like that. So I'm just going to look at this one today. I'm not going to make any changes because it's set up how I'm happy with it, but just to talk through it. If you remember in calculations, we said max velocity and max pressure drop. So default to 4 meters per second and 1 Pascal per meter. So the way the software works is always going to try and size the smallest duct to keep things efficient and I suppose cost effective too. But of course we can't just have the smallest duct. So if you exceed the maximum velocity or the maximum pressure drop of a small size, it will then increase the size until it finds the one that works. Range of materials to choose from. So just choose the one you'd like. If you want to add a spur capacity, so like an extra 5-10% onto your calculations, because just to be conservative for, well, a range of reasons, you can do that here. And then getting more into the actual shape of the ductwork. First of all, do you want circular or rectangular? And then when it's actually giving you that size, there's 3 options. Do you want to use recommended sizes? So there's things out of like industry handbooks or like the SIBSI guides where it tells you like these are the sizes that regularly get used. So I'll leave it on that today, but I'll come back to step increment. I just jumped it unrestricted. This is going to give you the absolute minimum that you need. So it probably won't exist, but it will at least let you know what the minimum size is. So for example, it might tell you the duct needs to be like 78.46 millimeters. And then you know, if you go a size bigger, it'll be sized sufficiently. The last option is step increment. So with step increment, you can just choose the increment that you want it to look up every time. So by default here, the increment is at 50. So it will start at 50 millimeters. If that doesn't work, it'll go to 100. If that doesn't work, 150, and so on. You can also set minimum sizes too. So for both the diameter, and if you went rectangular, you can choose minimum widths and heights. And you can choose your preferred ratio too. So do you want to go with the double the width to the height, which is default to, and yeah, you can change that how you like. And then the last part here is relating to the fittings. So here you can say, like, I don't want square fittings, I want them to be round or smooth to be more efficient. So yeah, completely up to you. And this is just the default, so you can change this in the design. And although it is quite a lot to change, once you've gone through and set this up how you like it, you can save it as a template project, and it'll all be there for the next one too. So yeah, that's all the settings. Just to reiterate what I said earlier, feel free to ask any questions. I don't think I can see them, but someone will answer. So yeah, if any of that doesn't make sense, I wish I could answer it and cover it for you, but I'm sure someone will in the comments. So cool, we've got that all set up. So normally, because you might have done that earlier, if you're using the software, you really come at this point now and you're happy with the settings and just getting on with the design. So what we want to do first is the flow rate calculations, which, if anyone familiar with our heat loss, it works exactly the same way. Drop this down, choose the room, and just do a left click every time you want to put a corner into that room. If you didn't have a floor plan, you can see there are dimensions that are following my cursor. So you can use that too if you've been and just surveyed a building. And then right click or double left click to finish. So straight away, it's calculating a lot for us. So although we're looking at ventilation today, it's just always good to know if you're doing a full HVAC design, like heating, cooling as well, a lot of this, I suppose, follows the same process. So by just adding, or by doing your ventilation calcs, you're doing your heat loss and heat gain too. Although it's not perfect because, you know, we've not gone and looked at materials and added windows, but so I'll just turn that off for now. But yeah, just wanted to be clear about that. So based on this standard, that's 13 liters per second. Now let's go and add this living room in. So yeah, there's not much more to it really. So I'm just going to do a pretty simple design today, but just so you're aware, if this was a huge building, it would just be following the exact same process. It would obviously just take a bit longer to do more rooms. Just to keep moving in this now, I'm just going to do the rest as a study room, rather than doing them all. And yeah, if you hover over something that you want to align to, like this, you can see it brings up those black dotted dashes. And it's smart enough now to auto kind of complete the room. So it's recognized here, because you're almost boxing this in. If you right click here, it's just going to fill in that room for you. And it's just the way these standards work that no liters per second or 0 liters per second is for these type of rooms. It is all more on the kitchen, and like bathrooms and things would have it too. But I suppose just so we can keep going into the design, I will move on. But one thing to note as well, you always get in the total down the bottom here. So the full ventilation supply required for this building is actually higher than the 13 that it says, because I don't want to get too into the details of the UK building regs, but it does look at the area too. And if the area exceeds a certain amount, it will start increasing the flow rate. So yeah, always good to see that. And once you're happy with this layout and you come now into the design mode here, this is where we start to do the system layout. And you might have noticed the supplied and the extracted are both red, and that is because they both say 0. So that's like a quick check that you have, that until we provide the full 29.03 liters per second in both of these, yeah, they're going to be red, and they'll turn green when they're fully supplied. And as you can see here, also red. One thing, sorry, I forgot to mention today. Yesterday, when I did a webinar, I did it in imperial units, so feet and inches and cubic feet per minute and things. You can control all of that in the units here. So today I'm doing a more metric version, but you can choose imperial here too. So yeah, sorry, I just was meant to tell you that before in the settings. But yeah, so in liters per second for now. All right, well, let's start doing the design. There's only a few parts to this. First part, you want to make sure you're on the right system when you're drawing it. And these are all the ductwork drawing. So if you remember back to the flow system settings, where we had different settings for the mains, the branches, and the connections and risers, you can control all of that here. You want to add any equipment too, like an air handling unit, which we will do shortly. And then yeah, you've got options for different valves or dampers to add to the system. You can add manifolds too. And yeah, a range of diffusers, so vertical, horizontal, different shapes. And yeah, we'll touch on all of these in the design. And I always like to start by putting the big pieces of equipment in first. Just makes it easier to then connect things together. So with that, I would normally put in the AHU. And pardon me, I've got to, yeah, probably drink a bit of water. Just wanted to say, we're going to do NVHR, just because it contains the most. Contains the most drawing, just so I can show you more. But yeah, if you just want to do a much more simpler system, then I suppose, yeah, you'll still realize from me doing this how you can draw that too. So yeah, let me choose this one, and this will now follow your cursor around, and you can just place it wherever you want. And let's say I'm just going to place it in the middle of the utility, but I want it to face, I want to rotate it. So before I stamp it, if you look in the bottom left, there's a few hints here. I can, if I press up on my keyboard, because that's where I want it to go to, yeah, you can see it's flipped around. And yeah, I'll just place it here now. right, and then once you've added it, you've got a range of properties that you can modify. And this is pretty typical for anything you've drawn. So even the rooms we did in the heat loss, sorry, the ventilation flow rates, you can click on the rooms and override certain things. And then in this example, like if you want to change the name for whatever reason, you can do that. And then yeah, you can change the shape and the size. Because I'm focusing just on the ventilation today, I'm not gonna connect the heating and the chilled. But if you do click yes here, you do have the option to have a fully like integrated HVAC design. So yeah, if you're changing kilowatt loads on your air handling unit, it can change the system sizing for the heating and the cooling too. So it's all updating live. But just to keep this simple and ventilation related, we'll leave that off today. And then for both the intake supply and the exhaust extract, very similar properties here, which really is what height do we want to connect to, which is default to a meter, and is there any pressure drop through the air handling unit that we want to put on the fan sizing. So you can change any of this if you want to, but I will just leave it how it is with the defaults. Alright, so the next part now is I would normally go ahead and draw my ductwork layout. So you can, I suppose a couple ways to draw. A bit of a quick start is if you hover over someone that needs a connection, it will pop up these points that just letting you know that you can start drawing now. So I'll do it that way first. So let's say we want to start drawing the extract. I'm going to click to add it, and now my duct is moving following my cursor. And yeah, I'll just bring it down here for now. And let's say I'm happy with that. I'm now going to click escape, or you can click done in the top left to stop drawing. And yeah, let's just draw those two pieces of duct. And now let's, I'll start adding the supply. So the alternative way now is, because I'm on the supply, I can just start drawing here, or I can I can choose from the toolbar, say the main duct, hover over where I want to connect, so it should highlight, and then yeah, you can see it starts drawing. And let's say now do it a little bit differently, because with the extract system, I'm just going to connect everything to main duct, but with this, I'm going to put it into a manifold, so and then run smaller ducts off it. So I'm going to, I suppose to avoid a clash here as well, because they're both coming out at a meter, I can then decide I want to put this to say 1.5. So if we just look in the bottom left where we've got the height, it's 1.2. I can press up on my keyboard and that's now going up to 1.5. And it has the black semicircle in as well to show there's a change in height. And once again, click escape or done. So here, I'm now going to go to the equipment and choose a manifold. So let's say, yeah, we're going to put four outlets coming from this. So as this follows my cursor, it will connect, or try to. So if I'm happy with it here, I'll do a left click. And yeah, there's a few properties here. So again, you can change sizes and things, and yeah, modify pressure losses, and even delete some if you want. I might, I'll do 4. I suppose it's overkill for this, but it'll be a good example. So what you can do here is use multiple ducts as well. So if we want to say I want to connect to, I'll do 2 at a time. I want to bring these two into the living room together. So these will start following my cursor now. Let's say we did something like this. And then yeah, click escape. Now I probably don't need them both going up there, so I'll delete this one. And I'll bring a couple more into the study, so I'm going to do exactly the same now. Maybe like this. Alright, so just before we go and add the next part, which is all the diffusers and the grills, I'll just quickly do these ones too. So we can bring the, say we want the intake to come over here, and we want the exhaust to come out this way too. So there's a little bit separated. So now we've drawn all our ducts, and the last thing we need to do before we go and size them is add that flow rate, that 29.03 liters per second, which we have down here, onto our system. So let's go and do that. So I will, let's start with the extract system. So I'll change it here. Now under the grills, there's 6 different options. You can either go square, like slot, which is rectangular, or circular. And for each of those 3 options, you can have a horizontal option, like if it's going in on the ceiling, or you can have a vertical option, like it's going in the wall. So let's go with circle horizontal for the kitchen. And as you can see now, that's following my cursor again, and it's trying to snap. So let's say I want to put it here. And one thing before I click, I just want you to keep your eye on is, if we just get this right, you can see now there's 29 liters per second showing up at that one grill. And if I just bring my cursor down here, you'll notice it's just gone off because I've exited the building. But as I go in the building, the extracted will go green into 29.03. Reason for this is by default, pardon me, it will try to always just distribute all of the required flow rate through all of the grills or diffusers. This way, it's just almost guaranteeing that your building's going to have the right flow rate. So, and then as we add the second one, just keep your eye on it. The new one will be half this, and this one will also get half too. So as I click here and move my mouse, it's currently 29. And now, as we're adding the second one, let's say we want to put it here, they're both 14.5. So it's still doing the full flow rate, but it's splitting it. And then, just for the sake of it, let me put one over here too. And now they're all 9.7. So yeah, it's all green, which is good. And that's always great for a sanity check. And I just want to show you, it's doing that by default because it's got these share units in. So everything by default has one share unit, so it will share it equally. With this one then, if I increase this to 2, that means overall there's going to be 4 share units, and the one with 2 will take half the flow rate. So yeah, 14.5, and then the other 2 make up the same. But yeah, if I put that back down to 1, then yeah, they're all equal. Alternatively, you could just take a percentage. So yeah, if I wanted to take 20% to that one will take 20%, and the other 2 are on share loads, so they'll take the rest. And then finally, if you just manually said, oh yeah, 1 liter per second, the other 2 will take the rest. So as long as you've got share units, it's guaranteed to always be green. If we put them all to manual, and 1 liter per second, we're only providing 3, so it's red. So it's quite easy on this one because it's one small building, but as you're doing a large building, it's a good sanity check just to make sure that everything is equal. And yeah, I can hold control, select all 3, put them on share units, and yeah, they're all looking good. Okay, so now let's say if we want to go back to supply and add 1 on each of these. This time I'm going to go with square just to be different. And we can quickly just go through and add them all. As you can see how the flow rates are all changing as we're doing it because they're on the share units. So yeah, that was a good example of how fast it is once you know explaining how it all works. If you wanted to move things, you can. And then quickly, I suppose if we, for these last 2, we want, probably, I'm going to go rectangular and I'll go vertical because it's in the wall. So that, probably as you can notice, it's snapping to the flow system that we had selected, which was supply. But in the bottom left here, we can see if you want to match the closest flow system, you can press M. And oops, and now that means as I go around, it's snapping to the nearest one. And I can also hold Shift to not snap. Control, and then I can just drop them on the end here as well. And that is all connected. So that is the full layout. So the last thing I will mention is on the valves. So you can go ahead and drop dampers in and things. I always normally just show an attenuator. So this, like everything else, follows your cursor, and it's grayed out. And when it intersects with the pipe or the duct, it will turn solid. So you know when it's ready for connection. So I want to put it here. I'll do a left click, and then I want to put it here as well. So I can do a left click. So you can go around and add valves on to your whole system just like that. But now we've got a fully designed system, so it's taken, I suppose, 20 minutes in this while talking through everything. But once you get the hang of it, it'll probably take 5 minutes to do something like this, where you've got your settings already set up. You go around your building, work out your flow rates, put in your equipment, draw your layouts, and then the final step is just adding those diffusers, grills, and dropping on any valves. And then that's where the real benefits start to compound. So we now click results. A couple seconds later, see everything's turned 3D now because it's give everything sizes. And worth pointing out that Sibsy have verified all of the calculations, well, specifically relating to flow rates, sizing, pressures, velocities, and that's pressures through ducts and fittings as well. So you can have confidence that what's being run in the background is accurate. All right, so now if you do a hover over any part of the system, you will see instantly all of the sizing criteria. So flow rates, velocities, maximum pressure drops, and most importantly, the sizing. So yeah, you can go around and see all this information, but if you actually just want to turn something on, like for example, I'd imagine everyone wants to actually see how big every duct is. So let's come down here and turn on duct sizing. And we can see it's run 75 mil now through most of the system. And yeah, any of the main ones are actually a little bit bigger. And I suppose you can use this now to think, well, I don't want to put that size of a duct in, I want to put smaller ones in. So you can just come back, put in the manifold, and yeah, run smaller ducts from there if that was what you preferred. But yeah, you can also turn on, like if you want to see the velocity everywhere, you can turn that on. Same for these other filters that you can see. I didn't mention it actually, but all the grills and diffusers have coefficients in them that will automate the pressure drops, which you can see here. However, you can just put in your own pressure drop too. So if you just know you want 0.1 millibar or whatever it might be through every grill, you can just go and enter that in. But by default, it's still working out a pressure drop here. You can see the pressure drops through some of the valves we added. And yeah, if you want to really go into the details, you can see the pressure drops through things like this too. And you can override fittings. So if we come here and circular elbow, I want to go to smooth. It was 0. I think it was 0.4, it might have been 0.04, but as you can see, just by making that change, how much more efficient the system could become if you did that throughout. And the last thing I'll probably just mention is the fan sizing. So it's working out the supply and the extract fan duties automatically based on what we've drawn. And if you went in out, pardon me again, modified the layout, it would update straight away well, maybe the flow rates, but definitely the pressure drops as the system changes. And sorry, I didn't mention, but yeah, the node path is, well, really good too. So if you're ever wondering where is the fan sized on, you can follow it through, like on the supply, obviously coming from the intake vent, but then just go into what might be obvious in hindsight, but the furthest one. So yeah, a lot of good information on display here. All right, next I'll talk about what you can do when you're happy with the results and how it integrates like different parts of your workflow. So I'm not going to show everything, but I will show the PDF, the bill of materials, and the design report. Then I'll just quickly touch on the read-only link. So this is great for sending someone a live version of what your design is. It's they can't make any changes, it's read-only, but it is great that if someone wants to review it, either internally or externally, it's a good way that they can zoom in turn on and off those result filters, make sure they're happy with the settings, and if they've got any problems with anything, really easy for you then just to make a change. So it really speeds up the review process and makes sure that a good review can take place. Also, if you have guys on site that are doing an installation, it's a great way that you can get them the plans instantly. And if you make changes, you don't have to go and print them off a new version. You can just send them the link straight away for access on an iPad. The heat load reports, not too relevant to what we did today, but yeah, if you did care about like heating and chilled, it would come into that. And we do export into AutoCAD. Not quite there yet for Revit actually. We are with other engineering systems, but I suppose ventilation just goes into AutoCAD. But what I will show is the PDF. So I'll click this. You get a bit of control now of how you want to lay this out. So you can choose where you want the title block. You can choose how big you want the paper size and scale. That's how we just go as big as possible for now. And you can change the level of detail. So if you want really big results, it's really just about finding what works based on your settings. So probably something like this for us. And whatever results you have turned on here will show on the design. So you can see that if we want to show the index path or not, we can turn that on or off. And you can add schedules too. So we've got one for grills here. And yeah, say we want to place that over here. That will now come out on the layout. So let me do a quick export. We didn't fill in all the settings at the beginning, like the general information. But the benefit of doing that is it does fill in some of the information on the exports. So here, just a basic cover sheet, but then more importantly, you've got a nice layout that you can give to your client, which will have your company logo, and it will have, if we filled all this in the settings, it will have all the project information too. It's a really good way that you can instantly give this to a client for them to review. We also have the bill of materials. So what this is literally everything you've drawn on the system will come into the Excel format. It does have placeholder rates in there, but you can enter your own rates or just use it more for materials and I suppose get the rates from somewhere else. Also, it just helps even if you don't want to use the exact number. It's a great way to be able to look at different options. Like if you're giving your client a couple different options, you can quickly see, is it 5, 10, 20% difference between two different layouts. But I suppose regardless of how you want to use this, it's a really great way to have a list of absolutely everything that's in the design and the quantities. So we can come down here and see all the different sizes, all the different fittings, attenuators, manifolds, and all the different like grills and diffusers too. So automates the takeoff process and really helps with the estimating process too. And the last part I will show you is the design report. So although you can review all of the system sizing and calculations in like h2x itself, the design report is a really good way where you can export this where it has all of your system information. So if we can just make it big to see, but yeah, every component has like an ID, which will then go to this webinar project report that we've done. Sorry, I don't know if that dropped out for a second. Hopefully everyone's still there. Looks like I've got a bit of a warning, but I will carry on, hoping that it's all good. Okay, so with this, yeah, if anyone wants to either look at it themselves or are being questioned on the calculations, you've got everything here if they didn't want to go and look at it in h2x. So with the tabs at the bottom, we've got ductwork, fittings, the AHU, grills, and dampers. So categorized nicely, and here you can come and find your ID, and it's helpfully done by level and different flow system. But yeah, you can look at the different sizing, flow rates, velocities, and yeah, materials and pressure drops and things. Because that's in bar, it's rounding down to 0, so yeah, probably better to have that in pascals. So yeah, that's all the ductwork sizing. Exactly the same for the fittings. It's just letting you know, again, pressure drops based on coefficients and things. Some details at the air handling unit for your fan sizing. A lot of information on the grills as well to help with selections there. And then finally, just like the fittings, we've got quite a bit of information on the on any valves or dampers that you've added to the system. And that is everything I wanted to cover today. So yeah, unfortunately I can't see comments, so if there are any, I'm sure they're being answered. But last thing I'll say before I go is, if you are interested in taking the next step and you're not already a user of h2x, on our website you've got 2 options. You can just try all this yourself for free. We've got a 14-day free trial. Just sign up here, and instead of, or in addition to the free trial, you can also book a demo. So you can demonstration similar to what we saw today, but yeah, a bit more personal. And yeah, other than that, I think I'll just quickly see if I can try and get some comments up, but I'll leave it here. But I appreciate all of your time, and yeah, look forward to hearing from you soon.